The twin moons of Varian floated high above the crystal towers of the royal city. Their silver light spread across the shining streets where alien banners fluttered in the night wind. The capital of the Zirith Empire looked calm, but behind the calm surface, whispers of disbelief traveled through every hall. The queen of the most powerful empire in the galaxy was going to marry a human from Earth. Queen Lyra stood before the tall windows of her palace chamber. Her silver eyes reflected the moons outside. She was proud, graceful, and strong, but her heart felt heavy that night. Around her stood members of the royal council, all waiting for her final words before the ceremony. "You still have time to change your decision, my queen," said Lord Varan, the head of the council. His voice was low but full of concern. "The people do not understand this union. They say the human is weak. They will never accept him as their king." Lyra turned to him. "Strength is not always in power or weapons, Lord Varan. I have seen more courage in Daniel than in many warriors of our world. He does not crave power. He believes in peace. That is something we have forgotten." The council members exchanged worried looks. They could not understand her choice. The Zirith had fought wars for centuries and valued strength above all. To them, humans were fragile, simple creatures from a small planet with limited technology. But Lyra saw something different. Months earlier, she had visited Earth on a diplomatic mission. Her ship had landed in a small city to meet human scientists. There she met Daniel, a young engineer who repaired energy systems for Earth's space program. He was not special in appearance or rank. He had no titles or army. But when Lyra's ship suffered a system failure, Daniel had volunteered to help. He worked calmly under pressure, never afraid. And even when he faced her alien crew, he spoke with respect and honesty. Lyra had been impressed by his quiet strength. He did not try to impress her or flatter her. He simply worked until the job was done. When she thanked him, he smiled and said, "Helping someone is just what we do." Those words had stayed in her mind. As her mission continued, she found reasons to speak to him again. He asked about her world, not with fear but with curiosity. He talked about Earth's oceans, books, and music. His kindness was pure and simple. For the first time in years, Lyra felt seen not as a queen but as a person. When she returned to Varian, she realized her heart had changed. Now, months later, the day of their marriage had come. The entire capital prepared for the grand event. The streets were lined with glowing crystals, and alien ships filled the skies, broadcasting the ceremony to millions across the galaxy. Yet, beneath the beauty, tension grew. Many nobles whispered that the queen had lost her wisdom. Some even feared that bringing a human into the royal bloodline would bring weakness to their people. Daniel, however, stood silently in his chamber, unaware of the storm of opinions outside. He looked into the mirror, trying to adjust the ceremonial robe the attendants had given him. The fabric shimmered with faint blue light. It felt strange but beautiful. He had never worn anything like it. An attendant named Mira smiled at him kindly. "You look nervous," she said softly. Daniel gave a small laugh. "I am about to marry an alien queen." "Nervous feels like an understatement." Myra nodded. "Do not fear. The queen believes in you. That is rare. Few beings earn her trust." He smiled and nodded, but inside, his heart raced. He still could not believe how his life had changed. A year ago, he was an engineer fixing energy grids on Earth. Now he was on a distant planet surrounded by creatures from another world. He admired Lyra deeply. She was strong, wise, and yet gentle. He wanted to be worthy of her trust. As the ceremony began, the great hall of Varian filled with music that echoed like singing stars. Thousands of guests gathered, both alien and human representatives. The air shimmered with holographic lights forming constellations above them. At the center stood the queen in her silver armor-like gown, and Daniel in his glowing robe. When they faced each other, Lyra's voice rang clear through the hall. "Daniel of Earth, do you promise to stand beside me, not as ruler and subject, but as equals?" Daniel looked into her eyes. "I do." She smiled and raised the royal sigil of unity. A beam of light connected their hands. The hall filled with golden light. The crowd gasped softly. For a moment, even the coldest hearts felt something pure. Yet, not everyone was pleased. Among the crowd stood General Karin, commander of the Zirith fleet. His jaw tightened as he watched the ceremony. To him, this marriage was a weakness. He whispered to one of his officers, "A human on our throne is a mistake we will soon regret." After the ceremony, Lyra and Daniel greeted the guests. The celebrations continued for hours. Lyra noticed Daniel's patience and respect toward everyone. He tried to learn their greetings, their customs, and even complimented their traditions. Some of the aliens softened toward him, but others still glared with silent doubt. Later that night, Lyra and Daniel walked through the royal garden. The air was filled with glowing flowers and gentle wind. The city lights sparkled below. Lyra looked at Daniel and said, "Do you regret coming here?" He shook his head. "No, it is strange and overwhelming, but also beautiful. I never imagined I would see something like this." She smiled softly. "Many still doubt you. They see only your human form. But I believe time will show them your worth." Daniel nodded. "I don't want to rule anyone. I just want to help however I can." Lyra looked at him for a long moment. "You will." "I can feel it." Before they could speak further, a sound broke the calm night. A vibration came from the ancient temple nearby. A glowing relic, kept safe for centuries, began to hum. Lyra frowned and hurried toward it with Daniel following. The relic, called the Heart of Varian, was a sphere of energy stored within a crystal chamber. It was said to be the soul of the planet, older than the empire itself. No one had ever been able to touch it without being repelled by its power. When they reached it, the guards stood in confusion. "It started glowing on its own, my queen," one said. Lyra approached carefully. The light grew brighter as she neared. But when Daniel stepped closer, the relic's glow changed from silver to warm gold. The air felt alive. "Stay back," Lyra warned, but Daniel felt a strange pull. It was as if the light recognized him. He slowly reached out his hand. The guards gasped, expecting him to be thrown back. Instead, when Daniel's hand touched the relic, it shone brighter than ever before. The entire temple was filled with golden light. The energy surrounded Daniel, flowing through his body, and for a moment, everything went silent. When the light faded, the relic's hum stopped. Daniel stood there unharmed, confused, his eyes glowing faintly. Lyra stared at him, her heart racing. No one in history had ever survived touching the heart of Varian. Lord Varn arrived moments later, eyes wide. "My queen, what happened?" Lyra looked at Daniel, still catching her breath. "I am not sure." But the heart responded to him. The council members looked at one another in disbelief. The guards whispered among themselves. A human, a being from a distant and supposedly lesser world, had just awakened something sacred to the Zirith people. That night, as the palace grew quiet, Lyra could not sleep. She stood on her balcony, watching the stars. The image of Daniel touching the relic stayed in her mind. It was not an accident. The heart of Varian had chosen him in his chamber. Daniel sat on the edge of his bed, staring at his hand. It still tingled with faint warmth. He did not understand what had happened, but deep inside, he felt something changing. The queen and the human were now bound by more than marriage. Something ancient had awakened between them, and the silent stars above Varian seemed to watch with interest, as if they knew that the fate of many worlds had just begun to turn. The next morning on Varian began with soft golden light spreading through the crystal towers. The air was calm, but inside the royal palace, the atmosphere was tense. The strange event from the night before had already spread across the city. People whispered about the human who touched the heart of Varian and lived. Queen Lyra sat in the council chamber, her silver eyes sharp as she listened to the arguments of her advisors. The large room echoed with voices. Some nobles spoke in fear, others in anger. "This cannot be ignored," Lord Varin said firmly. "The heart of Varian has never responded to anyone, not even to our ancestors. And now it glows for a human? What if this is a danger to us?" Another noble added, "The relic is sacred. It holds the planet's energy. If this man can control it, he could control Varian itself." Lyra raised her hand for silence. "Daniel has done nothing to harm us. What happened was not his choice. We will not treat him as an enemy." General Karin, who stood at the far end of the chamber, folded his arms. His voice was calm but cold. "With respect, my queen, the heart reacting to him means he carries power we do not understand. He is not one of us. We must be careful. What if he is part of a hidden plan from Earth?" Lyra's eyes hardened. "Daniel is my husband. I know his heart. He has no secret plan. The Zirith Empire will not live in fear of one man's kindness." The hall went quiet. The nobles exchanged uneasy looks. None dared to challenge the queen openly, but many still doubted. Corin bowed slowly, his expression unreadable. "As you command, my queen, but know this power draws attention. If this human truly carries something ancient, others will come for him." After the meeting, Lyra left the chamber and walked to the royal garden. Her thoughts were heavy. She wanted peace between worlds, but now even her own people were divided. Daniel was already there, sitting beside the glowing pond, looking lost in thought. He turned as she approached and smiled faintly. "I heard the council meeting was difficult." Lyra sat beside him. "They fear what they do not understand. The relic's reaction has shaken them." Daniel looked at his hands. "I didn't mean to cause this. I only touched it because I felt it calling to me. It sounds strange, but it was like it recognized me." Lyra studied his face. "The heart of Varian is older than our empire. Some say it holds memories of the stars. If it called to you, there must be a reason." Daniel nodded slowly. "Ever since that moment, I feel strange. It's like there's energy inside me. Sometimes I can sense things, the hum of machines, the pulse of the city. It's faint, but it's real." Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "Do not fear it. We will find answers together." For the next few days, scientists from across the empire came to study Daniel and the relic. They performed countless tests, scanning his blood, his energy, and his brain. What they found only deepened the mystery. Dr. Nira, the chief scientist, explained her results to Lyra in a quiet tone. "His DNA carries energy patterns we have never seen. They match the relic's frequency. It is possible that his kind once had a connection to the heart itself." Lyra frowned. "You mean humans might share a link with Varian?" Nira hesitated. "It is possible. Our oldest records speak of the architects, an ancient race said to have shaped many worlds. But we always believed it was only a legend." The queen's heart beat faster. "Are you saying Daniel could be related to them?" "We cannot confirm," Nira replied carefully. "But the relic responded to him as if it found its creator." Lyra thanked her and left, her thoughts racing. If Daniel truly carried the essence of an ancient race, it could change everything. Meanwhile, Daniel tried to live quietly inside the palace, but he could feel the tension around him. Guards watched him more closely. Servants whispered when he passed. Even when he walked through the markets with Lyra, some aliens bowed respectfully, while others turned away in fear. He told Lyra one evening, "They look at me like I don't belong. Maybe they're right. Maybe I shouldn't be here." She took his hand firmly. You belong here because I chose you, and because fate chose you. Do not let fear decide your place." Daniel nodded, grateful for her strength. Still, he could not stop the strange dreams that came every night. In them, he saw stars being born, galaxies spinning, and enormous figures of light working together to shape worlds. He heard voices speaking in a language he did not understand but somehow felt familiar. When he woke, his body felt charged with energy. One night, unable to sleep, Daniel walked to the relic chamber. The guards let him in under the Queen's permission. The heart of Varian floated quietly, glowing faintly gold. Daniel approached it, feeling the same pull again. He whispered, "What are you trying to show me?" The relic pulsed once. A soft beam of light extended toward him. When it touched his forehead, his mind filled with images ruins on distant planets. Humans standing beside alien builders, and a symbol glowing like a sun. The vision ended quickly, leaving him trembling but awake. When he told Lara the next day, she listened carefully. If those images are true, humanity might have been part of the galaxy's creation long ago. Maybe your people forgot, but the stars did not. Before they could speak further, alarms sounded across the palace. Explosions shook the ground. Guards ran through the corridors shouting, "Rebel attack! The outer gates are breached." Lyra and Daniel rushed to the command hall. On the main screen, ships filled the sky. The attackers were from within the Zereth Empire itself, wearing the mark of General Korin. Lyra's voice was calm but sharp. "Activate defense shields. Evacuate civilians from the lower city." Daniel watched as the battle began outside. Plasma fire streaked across the sky. The shields held for a time, but then one of the energy cores failed. A blast struck near the palace, throwing Daniel and Lyra to the ground. When Daniel looked up, he saw debris falling toward them. Instinct took over. Without thinking, he raised his hands. A wave of golden light burst from his body, forming a shield above them. The falling metal melted before touching them. The guards froze in shock. Lyra stared at him, her voice trembling. "Daniel, what did you just do?" He looked at his glowing hands, confused. "I don't know. It just happened." The light faded slowly, leaving everyone silent. Outside, the rebels retreated after seeing the bright flash from the palace. The battle was over, but the city was shaken. News of Daniel's act spread faster than light. People called him the Chosen of the Heart. Some saw him as a hero sent by destiny, while others feared he was a weapon. That evening, the council gathered again. Korin was not present, but his supporters spoke loudly. "This proves he is dangerous," one shouted. "He could destroy us all if he loses control." Lyra stood tall. "He saved hundreds of lives today. Do you call that danger?" Varn looked troubled. "My queen, power like this changes everything. The people will either worship him or fear him. Either way, it will not bring peace." Daniel entered the hall quietly. All eyes turned to him. He looked calm but tired. "I don't want to be feared or worshipped. I only want to understand what's happening to me. If I am truly linked to this power, I will use it to protect this world, not harm it." Lyra placed a hand on his arm. "And I will stand beside you. Whatever this power is, it chose you for a reason." The council fell silent again. For the first time, some of the nobles lowered their eyes, uncertain what to believe. That night, Lyra and Daniel stood on the balcony overlooking the city. Fires from the battle still burned in the distance. The stars above seemed brighter than usual. Lyra said softly, "You changed everything today. They will never see humans as weak again." Daniel looked at the glowing skyline. "I didn't want to change anything. But maybe it's time someone reminded them that strength can come from unexpected places." Lyra turned to him with a small smile. "Perhaps this is only the beginning." Daniel nodded slowly. "Yes, I think something much bigger is waking up. Above them, the heart of Varian pulsed again deep inside the palace, sending a wave of golden light through the air. Far beyond the planet, in the dark corners of space, old machines stirred awake for the first time in thousands of years. Something ancient had recognized its lost child, and the galaxy was about to remember who humans truly were. The days after the attack were full of tension. The streets of Varian were quiet, but under that silence, fear spread among the people. Some looked to Daniel as a savior, believing the heart of Varian had chosen him for a reason. Others whispered that he was a danger waiting to explode. Queen Lyra stood firm, showing no sign of doubt in public. She had her guards double their patrols and ordered scientists to study everything about the relic and Daniel's new power. She knew that the truth had to be found before panic destroyed what little peace remained. One morning, the Queen called a meeting in the Royal Research Wing. The hall was filled with scientists, historians, and energy experts. Daniel sat quietly beside her, listening as Dr. Nira began to explain her findings. We studied the relic's energy field and compared it to the readings from Daniel's body. Nira said, "The patterns are almost identical. Both emit what we call creator energy. This energy type has not been recorded in any known life form." Lyra leaned forward. "What does that mean?" Nira hesitated. "It means that either Daniel is the source of the relic's energy, or both come from the same ancient origin." Murmurs filled the hall. Daniel frowned. "Ancient origin? Are you saying this power is not from your world?" The scientist nodded. "Not just from another world. It may come from an ancient race that existed long before the Zereth Empire. We found old records in our archives that speak of beings called the Architects. They shaped entire galaxies, built systems of life, and then vanished. Some say their energy still sleeps beneath the stars." Lyra's voice grew soft. "And you think humanity could be connected to them?" Nira looked at Daniel. "It is possible. Our genetic comparisons show similarities between human DNA and the traces left by the Architect ruins. If true, then humans may be descendants of that race." The room went silent. The council members looked at one another, unable to believe what they were hearing. Lord Varn finally spoke. "That would mean humans are not weak as we believed. They could be the heirs of the builders." Daniel listened quietly, feeling both awe and confusion. He had always thought of humans as simple beings struggling to survive in a vast galaxy. Now he was being told his kind might have built it ages ago. After the meeting, Lyra and Daniel walked through the palace halls. She could see that he was deep in thought. "You do not look surprised," she said softly. "I'm more confused than surprised," Daniel replied. "All my life, humans have looked at the stars and wondered who made them. Now I learned that maybe it was us, and we forgot. It doesn't feel real." Lyra nodded. "Sometimes the greatest truths are the ones buried deepest. But if this is true, that explains why the heart responded to you. Maybe it has waited a long time for one of your kind to return." As they spoke, far away on a military base, hidden in the outer rings of Varian, General Corin met with his loyal officers. The hall was filled with red holographic maps showing troop movements. Corin's face was hard as stone. "The Queen is blind," he said. "She cannot see that the human is a threat. If he truly carries power from the Architects, then he could control every system in the galaxy. Do you want to live under the rule of a human?" His officers stayed silent. Corin walked among them, his voice rising. "We have ruled this empire for 1,000 years. We will not bow to an outsider who carries the power to destroy us. It is time to act." They began to prepare in secret, gathering fleets and weapons. Corin planned to strike the capital again, not just to defeat Lyra, but to capture Daniel and use his power for himself. Meanwhile, Daniel continued to study the relic. Every time he touched it, new visions filled his mind. He saw cities floating above blue worlds, human-like figures building with light, and machines powered by pure energy. He began to understand fragments of their language, symbols that described creation and balance. One night, Lyra found him standing in front of the relic again. The room glowed softly around him. "You have been here every night," she said gently. "What do you see?" Daniel looked at her. "Pieces of a story. I think these architects created life, not to rule it, but to protect it. But something happened. Something destroyed their order. I see a great war in my visions, and then everything went dark." Lyra stepped closer. "Do you think that war is connected to the energy inside you?" "Maybe," he said quietly. "But if that's true, then this power could be dangerous. I don't want to repeat their mistakes." Lyra's eyes softened. "Power itself is not evil. It is how one chooses to use it. You saved lives when you used it before. That is what matters." Their quiet moment was broken by the arrival of a messenger. He bowed quickly. "My queen, scouts report that General Corrin's fleet is moving near the outer moons. He claims it is a training exercise, but our sensors detect armed ships." Lyra's expression darkened. "He is preparing for war." Daniel stepped forward. "You can't fight him alone. He will use the fear of the people against you." "I know," Lyra replied. "But if we show weakness, the Empire will fall apart. We must stand strong." That night, the Queen called an emergency meeting of her trusted generals. They planned defenses around the capital and prepared their fleets. Daniel offered to help by strengthening the city's energy shields. When he placed his hands on the shield generator, golden light spread through the system. The machines responded instantly, glowing brighter than before. The technicians stared in shock. He improved the shields beyond their limits. "We did not think it was possible." Lyra watched him, both proud and worried. "Every time you use your power, you grow stronger," she said. Daniel looked at the glowing shields. "Yes, but it feels like the power is alive, like it wants to guide me. I just hope I can control it." The next day, Lyra addressed her people through the Royal Broadcast Network. Her calm voice filled every home across the Empire. "My people, I know fear has spread among you. You have heard stories of my husband and the relic. Some call it a sign of danger. I call it a sign of hope. The heart of Varian chose him because it believes in what he represents, unity, not fear. We will not let division destroy us." Her words reached millions. Many were moved by her courage. For the first time, humans and Xera citizens on allied colonies began sending messages of support. But Corrin's followers called her a traitor. The Empire was splitting in two. Daniel stood beside Lyra as she ended her speech. He could see how tired she looked. "You spoke well," he said softly. "You gave them hope." Lyra smiled faintly. "Hope is all we can give until the truth is clear." That night, the first sign of war came. Corrin's fleet appeared at the edge of the Varian system. The warning sirens echoed through the palace. Daniel and Lyra rushed to the command center, where holograms of enemy ships filled the air. Corrin's voice came through the speakers. "Queen Lyra, surrender the human and the relic. Do so, and I will spare your city." Lyra's voice was firm. "You will spare nothing. You seek power, not peace. I will never hand him over." Corrin laughed. "Then you will fall." Moments later, the battle began. Explosions lit up the skies. The royal fleet fought bravely, but was outnumbered. Daniel watched in horror as ships burned. He could feel the pain of every dying soul. Something inside him snapped. He placed his hand on the control table, and the lights in the room dimmed. Golden energy flowed from him into the planetary defense grid. Across the sky, massive shields formed, covering the city. Enemy fire struck the barrier and melted instantly. The crew stared at him in awe. "He is controlling the entire defense system," one whispered. Lyra turned to him. Daniel, stop. You are pushing yourself too far. He shook his head. If I don't, they will break through. The golden energy grew brighter. Every weapon and shield on Varian powered up beyond its limit. Within minutes, the rebel fleet was forced to retreat. But when it was over, Daniel fell to his knees. Exhausted, Lyra caught him as he collapsed. His body trembled with fading light. She held him close, fear filling her heart. You saved us again, she whispered. But at what cost? The city celebrated the victory, yet deep inside the palace, Lyra could feel that something greater was coming. Daniel's power was growing faster than anyone could understand. And somewhere beyond the stars, a signal answered the heart of Varian's light, as if an ancient force had finally awakened. The sun over Varian burned red as warships filled the sky. The air trembled with the roar of engines and the distant thunder of explosions. The Zirith Empire, once united under Queen Lyra, had fallen into a storm of division and fear. General Corinne's army surrounded the capital from every direction, ready to bring an end to Lyra's rule. Inside the palace, the Great Hall had turned into a command center. Soldiers rushed in and out with reports. The walls, once decorated with silver banners of peace, were now covered with maps showing enemy movements. The air was heavy with tension and the smell of metal and smoke. Lyra stood in front of a holographic map, her silver eyes fixed on the red marks that represented Corinne's forces. They have reached the eastern ridge, said one of her officers. If they take that point, the capital will fall within hours. Daniel stood beside her, calm but serious. He had learned to read the Zirith battle screens. His human hands, though untrained for war, moved quickly over the holographic controls. We can reroute the defense drones here, he said, pointing to the outer ring. If we create a barrier of plasma storms, their ships will slow down. Lyra nodded. Do it. Her soldiers obeyed, though some still glanced at Daniel with a mix of respect and fear. They had seen what he could do. When he had released his power in the last battle, he had destroyed an entire fleet. Even now, the memory of that light haunted them. As Daniel worked, his body began to faintly glow again. The power inside him had grown stronger each day. He no longer fully understood it, but he could feel its rhythm, like a heartbeat connected to the planet itself. Lyra looked at him and whispered softly, "You are changing." Daniel met her eyes. I know, but I don't want to hurt anyone. I only want to protect you. She placed a hand on his arm. You are not a weapon, Daniel. You are the key to everything. The heart of Varian chose you for a reason. Before Daniel could reply, a loud alarm echoed through the hall. The outer shield had been breached. The city trembled as explosions lit up the sky. The sound of battle grew closer. Queen Lyra, shouted a soldier. General Corinne's flagship has entered the atmosphere. Lyra straightened her back and turned to her soldiers. Then we stand our ground. Every unit, prepare to defend the city. We fight for our people and for our future. Daniel followed her to the palace balcony. From there, he could see the battlefield stretching across the plains. Thousands of ships clashed in the sky. Plasma fire painted the clouds in red and blue. The towers of Varian shook with every blast. He closed his eyes for a moment. He could feel the energy of the heart pulsing in his chest, calling to him. When he opened his eyes, his vision had changed. He could see energy lines across the planet, currents of light moving through every ship, every shield, every weapon. He spoke softly. I can feel it. Everything is connected. I can control it. Lyra watched him, her heart torn between fear and trust. Then use it to save them. Daniel stepped forward. The wind blew through his hair as the air around him shimmered. His hands glowed brighter until they shone like small suns. He lifted them, and the energy fields of the city responded. The broken shields began to repair themselves. The plasma storms expanded, creating barriers that stopped the enemy advance. For a moment, the defenders cheered. But then Corin's voice echoed across the communication network. His deep voice filled every speaker in the city. "Lyra, surrender your throne," he said. "You married a human, and now you bring ruin to our empire. Do not force me to destroy what remains of Varian." Lyra raised her chin and replied, "You already destroyed our peace, Corin. I will not let you destroy our honor." Corin's fleet fired again. A massive barrage aimed directly at the palace. Daniel reacted instantly. He raised his arms, and a wall of energy appeared around the building. The blasts struck the barrier and vanished in bright flashes, but the effort drained him. He fell to one knee, breathing heavily. Lyra ran to him, holding his shoulders. "You cannot keep this up," she said. "I have to," he answered. "If I stop, they will reach us." He stood again, his body glowing brighter than ever. The heart of Varian, which had once rested in the temple, was now fused into his chest. Its pulse matched his own. The light from him spread across the palace, giving strength to the energy shields. Outside, Corin saw the light and laughed. "So the human thinks he can fight me with tricks of energy. I will end him myself." His ship descended through the clouds. It landed in the royal courtyard, crushing the stone beneath it. The ramp opened, and Corin walked out in full battle armor, his tall frame shining like dark steel. He carried a blade powered by plasma energy. Lyra stepped forward, sword in hand. "This is your last chance, Corin. Leave now." He smirked. "I will not take orders from a queen who bows to a human." He charged forward, but Daniel moved faster than anyone expected. His body turned into light for an instant, and he appeared in front of Lyra, blocking Corin's attack with a shield of pure energy. The ground shook from the clash. "You want me," Daniel said. "Not her." Corin attacked again, his strikes strong and furious. Sparks flew as energy met energy. Daniel's power flared each time, his control pushed to the limit. He did not fight with hate. He fought to protect. The two warriors moved through the courtyard, blades and light flashing in every direction. Lyra watched, ready to join, but Daniel raised a hand. "Stay back. This is my fight." Corin laughed. "You think you can match a Zereth general, human?" Daniel's voice was calm. "I don't need to match you. I only need to stop you." With that, Daniel closed his eyes and focused. The light around him changed from harsh to soft, like sunlight after a storm. He caught Corin's next strike and sent a wave of energy through the air. Corin was thrown backward, his armor cracking. Daniel stood over him, breathing hard but peaceful. "I will not kill you," he said. "You still serve your people, even if you've lost your way." Corin stared up in shock. You could have ended me." "I don't want destruction," Daniel said quietly. "I want peace." He turned away, and the soldiers watching lowered their weapons. Some of Corin's troops even dropped to one knee, realizing they had followed the wrong cause. But just as Daniel began to step back toward Lyra, the ground shook violently. The heart of Varian inside him began to pulse wildly. The planet's core responded to his energy, and the sky filled with bright lines of light stretching toward the horizon. Lyra ran to him. "Daniel, what is happening?" He gritted his teeth, trying to control the surge. "The heart. It's merging with me completely. I can feel the whole planet. I can feel every heartbeat." Lyra held him tightly. "Then hold on. Do not let it take you." He looked into her eyes, his face glowing with energy. "If I lose control, get everyone away from the palace. I will not let this destroy you." The ground split open as streams of light rose into the sky. The people of Varian fell to their knees, thinking the gods had returned. The heart of Varian shone like a star from within Daniel's chest. Then, with one final surge, he released a wave of energy across the planet. The lights of warships went dark. The weapons stopped firing. Every engine and cannon froze, as if time itself had paused. The entire battlefield fell silent. When the light faded, Daniel was lying on the ground, unconscious. The heart's glow had dimmed, and the sky had cleared. Corin's army had stopped moving. The war was over, though none yet understood how. Lyra knelt beside Daniel, her hand on his chest. His heartbeat was weak but steady. She whispered, "You saved them all." Around them, the soldiers lowered their weapons and bowed. The Queen and the human had stopped the war not with hatred, but with courage and compassion. Far above, the stars of the galaxy shimmered brighter, as if watching what had happened on Varian. Something ancient had awakened again through the heart of one human who was never truly simple. The story of Daniel and the heart of Varian was only beginning. When the light faded from the sky, silence fell over the planet Varian. The people who had been fighting stopped and looked toward the palace where the last blast of light had come from. The war was over, and no one knew what had truly happened. Inside the ruined courtyard, Queen Lyra sat beside Daniel, who lay motionless on the ground. His skin was pale, but the faint glow of the heart of Varian still pulsed in his chest. She placed her hand over his heart, feeling the slow rhythm of his life returning. Her silver eyes filled with quiet tears. "Daniel, please wake up," she whispered. "Your people need you. I need you." All around them, soldiers began to gather. Some were her loyal guards, others were Corin's troops who had laid down their weapons. No one spoke. The entire palace stood in stillness, waiting for a sign. Finally, Daniel's eyes opened. His first breath came slow and heavy. When he looked around, his eyes were no longer the same. They glowed softly with a calm golden light. Lyra gasped, but then smiled in relief. "You are alive," she said, holding his face. Daniel blinked, as if he could see things far away. "I am alive, and I can feel everything. The planet, the people, even the stars above us. They are all connected." Lyra helped him sit up. "You saved us, Daniel. You stopped the war." He looked around. The palace was broken, the courtyard filled with dust, but the energy in the air felt peaceful. "I did not stop it alone," he said. "You gave me a reason to fight for something greater than myself." At that moment, General Corin walked slowly across the courtyard, without armor and without a weapon. He looked tired and ashamed. "Your Majesty," he said, "I was wrong." Lyra studied him in silence. The soldiers behind him stayed still, waiting for her judgment. Corin continued, "I thought your marriage to a human would bring weakness. But I see now that it brought strength unlike any we have known. The war is finished, and I accept your rule." Daniel looked at him. "No more war, Corin. We must rebuild together. The people have suffered enough." Corin nodded, his voice soft. "I will serve the Queen again. And you, Daniel, I owe you my life." For the first time in many years, there was no anger in his eyes, only understanding. Lyra stood and faced both armies. "The war is over," she said loudly. "No more fighting between us. We will rebuild our world with peace and unity. Let this day be remembered as the day when Varian was reborn." The soldiers shouted in agreement, their voices rising through the broken city. Hope began to fill the air like sunlight after a storm. Over the next days, Daniel and Lyra worked side by side. The heart of Varian, now part of Daniel, gave him new abilities. He could touch broken machines and make them function again. He could restore damaged buildings by reshaping the metal and stone with energy from his hands. When people saw him working in the streets beside them, they no longer called him a stranger. They called him the Restorer. Children ran to see him, and workers bowed in respect. Lyra watched with pride. "You have become more than I ever dreamed," she said one evening as they stood on the palace balcony. Daniel smiled gently. "I was only a simple man when I came here. You gave me purpose, Lyra. You showed me what strength really means. He looked out at the city lights. But I feel something more. The heart is speaking to me. It is showing me memories that do not belong to me. Lyra frowned. Memories? Yes, Daniel said quietly. I see stars being born. I see worlds created long before the Xerath existed. I see beings made of light, building the first cities of the galaxy. The heart is part of them. It was left behind by a race called the Architects. And I think humanity was once part of them. Lyra was silent, trying to understand. You mean humans came from the Architects? Daniel nodded. I believe so. Humans forgot who they were long ago. But the power is still inside us, waiting to awaken. The heart only needed someone to remember. That night, Daniel went to the ancient temple of the Xerath, the place where the heart had once been kept. He stood alone before the empty pedestal. The air was filled with quiet energy. He placed his hand over his chest and spoke softly. Show me the truth. Light surrounded him. His body rose slightly from the ground as the temple walls came alive with glowing patterns. Then everything went dark, and Daniel found himself standing among the stars. Before him stood a tall figure made of golden light. Its voice was calm and deep. You have awakened the memory of creation, it said. You are the link between what was and what will be. Daniel asked, Who are you? The figure replied, I am one of the architects, the builders of life. Long ago, we created many races to carry our legacy. The Xerath, the humans, and others. But when darkness came, we hid our hearts in the stars to be found by those worthy of the gift. You, human, are the first to awaken it again. Daniel looked around at the stars. Why me? Because you did not seek power, the voice said. You sought peace. Only one who loves life more than control can carry the heart. Daniel lowered his head. What should I do now? Guide them, said the figure. Unite the children of the stars. Teach them creation, not destruction. The heart will show you the way. When Daniel opened his eyes again, he was back in the temple. The glow around him slowly faded, leaving a gentle light in his eyes. Lyra was waiting outside. She saw the peace on his face and asked, What happened? He took her hands. I understand now. The heart is not a weapon. It is a seed of creation. The architects wanted their children to grow together, not fight each other. Lyra's eyes filled with emotion. Then we will follow that path. Over the next weeks, Daniel began to build something new. Using the power of the heart, he activated ancient gateways that had been silent for millions of years. These gates connected Varian to distant worlds, including Earth. Messages of peace and friendship spread across the stars. When the first human ambassadors arrived, they were amazed by what they saw. They met Queen Lyra and bowed deeply. We never knew humanity had such history, one said. You have given us a new beginning. Daniel welcomed them warmly. We are stronger together, he said. Humans and Xerath can build a new age side by side. Soon, a new council was formed, made up of both species. They worked to share knowledge, rebuild lost worlds, and open trade between planets. Everywhere Daniel went, people greeted him with respect and hope. But he never called himself a ruler. He said, Lyra is the queen of Varian. I am only her partner in peace. Lyra would smile at those words. Yet everyone knew he was more than that. His presence changed the balance of the galaxy. He was not a conqueror, not a god, but something greater, a bridge between the past and the future. One quiet morning, Daniel and Lyra stood again on the same balcony where they had watched the war end. Two suns rose together, casting golden light over the city. The people below worked, laughed, and rebuilt their lives. Lyra looked at him and said softly, When I met you, I saw only a simple man. I never imagined you would change the fate of worlds. Daniel smiled. And when I met you, I saw only a queen. I never imagined you would teach me what it means to love a world enough to fight for it." She reached for his hand. "What will you do now?" He looked up at the sky where the stars shimmered faintly. "I will help others remember who they are. There are still many worlds waiting for the light." Lyra rested her head on his shoulder. "Then I will walk beside you, wherever that light leads." As the suns rose higher, the palace bells rang in celebration. The people of Varian looked up and cheered for their queen and the human who had saved them. In that moment, the galaxy changed forever. The name of Daniel of Earth became known across the stars, not as a warrior, but as the one who awakened the forgotten power of humanity and united it. With the strength of the Zereth, the stars above seemed brighter that day, as if the universe itself remembered the truth that had long been lost. Humanity was never weak. It had simply been asleep, waiting for someone to remind it what it was capable of. And now, thanks to one simple human and one brave queen, the galaxy had begun a new chapter of peace, creation, and hope that would last for ages to come.